Hey Cowboys Nation, let's go for another round of news from America's team. Watch until the end so you don't miss any news and sign up to stay tuned for everything that comes out about the Cowboys.
Is Chris Jones a viable Cowboys free agent target? And yes, Parsons had a name in mind. Chris Jones of the Chiefs, the versatile big man who helped Kansas City control the line of scrimmage throughout the playoffs and in the Super Bowl. Jones is a unique talent, of course, and would be expensive for a team like Dallas, which does not have much cap space this offseason, to acquire. But Parsons also cited veteran Mike Pennell, a 330-pounder whom the Chiefs signed to their practice squad and was forced into a starting role because of injuries. Pennell had 6 tackles, including 1 for a loss, and generally clogged up the middle of the 49ers line. He's a free agent this offseason. I saw the way Chris Jones affected that Super Bowl and one was like, my God, Parsons said. And not even Chris Jones. Mike Pennell, I think we've got a lot of rushers. I think Osa, Odighizuwa, he can play inside, outside, one of the most versatile DTs. When we lost Jonathan, Hank, Inns, he's a big dude, but we need to get one of them big old, nasty, pass rushing, get going, guys. Indeed, Odighizuwa is the Cowboys' best defensive lineman but weighs in at a relatively light 280 pounds. The Cowboys do have a 330-pounder on the defensive line, 2023 first-round draft pick Mozzie Smith, but he was a massive disappointment as a rookie. He played 308 snaps last season and logged a Pro Football Focus grade of 47.2, 113th out of 130 defensive linemen. Cowboys' Micah Parsons due an expensive extension. As for Parsons' offseason, he is eligible to sign a contract extension with the Cowboys, though it is likely the team will focus on getting new deals for Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb first. Parsons is signed for 2024 at just under $3 million, and would certainly have his 5th-year option picked up. But Spatrack projects him signing a 4-year deal worth $102 million, which might be a bit undervalued. PFF rated Parsons with a 92.4 grade in 2023, number 2 among all edge rushers. If they call my number and say, hey, we're ready, but if not, I'm going to put another Pro Bowl year, Parsons said. It only gets more expensive. Cowboys could sign Commanders' WR in bargain free agency move. The Dallas Cowboys are figuring out their next steps for the 2024 offseason, and that could mean adding a wide receiver in free agency. There are many options to choose from, but the Cowboys have to be sensible about cost at the moment too. That's why Bleacher Report's scouting department has linked Dallas to a move for Washington Commanders wide receiver Curtis Samuel. Samuel is testing free agency this offseason, and is coming off another solid year. With CeeDee Lamb leading a talented receiver group, the Cowboys shouldn't focus too heavily on adding a wideout, the February 19 article reads. However, Brandon Cooks and Michael Gallup are both potential cap casualties, and it would be fairly surprising to see Dallas keep both. Potential bargain free agents like Curtis Samuel and Noah Brown will likely top their wish list. Brown is an interesting option as well, but more for a narrative choice. The Cowboys drafted Brown in the 7th round of the 2017 NFL Draft, and he spent 5 seasons in Dallas. Samuel is likely the candidate with a higher ceiling and floor, but Brown is no slouch. Either way, the Cowboys will need to consider some unique possibilities to improve the offense. Samuel's time with Panthers, Commanders. Cowboys fans have gotten to know Samuel fairly well in recent years, albeit as an enemy. The former Ohio State WR first entered the league with the Carolina Panthers in the 2nd round of the 2017 NFL Draft, but has spent the past 3 seasons in Washington. According to Pro Football Reference, his best statistical season was back in 2020. Samuel caught 77 passes for 851 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns. And while his first season with the Commanders in 2021 was a dud due to injury, he has been a consistent contributor over the past 2 years. In fact, it's almost wild how similar his last 2 seasons with the Commanders were. In 2022, he caught 64 passes for 656 yards and 4 touchdowns. In 2023, he made 62 catches for 613 yards and 4 touchdowns. That kind of consistency is nice, although the numbers don't explode off the page. If the Cowboys want to truly elevate the wide receiver group, SEMUEL is not a guarantee to do so with numbers like that. Cowboys could trade WR pursuing SEMUEL or any other receiver depends on how the Cowboys cut down the group. As mentioned above, Cooks and Gallup could potentially depart this offseason to set up a new addition. As Heavy's Jonathan Adams recently covered, former NFL general manager Mike Tannenbaum has a way to move on from Cooks. In his proposal, Dallas would swap Cooks for New York Jets linebacker C.J. Mosley. This really works well for both teams, Tannenbaum said on ESPN's Get Up on February 16. Look, the Jets need outside speed, outside of Garrett Wilson with Aaron Rodgers coming back. They have depth in their front seven. The Cowboys desperately need size and speed at middle linebacker. This is really going to help both teams. Linebacker is another area that's been identified as a weakness for Dallas, and Mosley's track record is impressive. That being said, single-player swaps are somewhat rare in the modern NFL. Insider reveals why Dak Prescott Cowboys negotiations could be complicated. Dak Prescott's future with the Dallas Cowboys, and how the organization finds creative ways to free up cap space to secure several star players are two of the biggest storylines of this NFL offseason. Prescott is set to count $59 million against the cap in 2024, but the Cowboys must find a way to trim at least $19.7 million in cap space before the new league year begins on March 13, simply to be cap compliant when free agency gets underway. According to a report from Mike Fisher of Cowboys Country, the Cowboys and Prescott are set to begin negotiations on a new contract that would lower the star quarterback's cap number and keep him in Dallas for the foreseeable future. Lowering Prescott's cap number is a top priority for the Cowboys, but as Fisher points out, Dallas' needs might not align with what the 30-year-old with just 2 playoff wins has in mind for his next deal. Is Doc worth the same as top-paid QBs Joe Burrow, $55 million APY, and Lamar Jackson and Justin Herbert, $52 million APY? Fisher writes, that's not really the point. This negotiation is going to be about the cost of doing star QB business, and whether Dallas chooses to do it long-term. Dak Prescott's negotiations could be complicated for Cowboys. Prescott is coming off the best statistical season of his career, which gives him significant leverage in this round of contract talks. En route to leading the Cowboys to the NFC East Division Championship, Prescott completed a career-high 69.5% of his passes for 4,516 yards with 36 touchdowns to just 9 interceptions. However, the Cowboys are going to have many high-priced mouths to feed, with limited financial resources to do so this offseason. As ESPN's Jeremy Fowler points out, Prescott's negotiations are just one piece of a complicated puzzle for Jerry Jones and the Cowboys. It took years for Prescott and Dallas to lock in a deal the first time, in 2021, Fowler writes. So, don't expect a swift resolution, especially with Prescott coming off his best statistical season. And if that's not enough, CeeDee Lamb is due a new contract that could make him the league's highest-paid receiver or close to it. Linebacker Micah Parsons will need to be paid soon enough. Lamb has quickly developed into one of Prescott's most important weapons, and one of the most prolific wide receivers in the NFL, which makes keeping him in a Cowboys uniform a top priority. As if 1,749 receiving yards and 12 touchdowns didn't show Lamb's value to the Cowboys' success on offense, Prescott produced a whopping 125.7 passer rating on Lamb's 179 targets, according to Pro Football Focus. Spotrac projects Lamb's new deal to make him the second highest-paid wide receiver in the league, on a 4-year deal worth $115.43 million, averaging approximately $28.8 million annually.